Hello, my viewers and subscribers. Welcome to another episode of Jamaica Politics Uncovered. New subscribers, welcome. Returning subscribers, welcome back. Guys, in this video, I am going to show you the moment when Nigel Clarke tackled Mark Golding on the manipulated data that was given to Golding by Bunting to present to the House. You are going to see the reaction of Mark Golding, which is quite sad. Nigel, of course, took the opportunity to humiliate the opposition leader and point out what he calls manipulation. And he even used the word gaslighting. Have a look, guys, and tell me what you think in the comments.
The period 2016-17 to 2020-21. Why would he do that? Why would he do that? Red card, Madam Speaker, for him. Red card. That's the compounded annual increase in tax revenues over the period budgeted for 24-25, going all the way back to actual 2015-2016. Yeah? What happened, Madam Speaker, and what the opposition leader, in my view, I think is deceptively excludes, it's disingenuous. He excludes the COVID contraction in revenues, Madam Speaker, and in the revenues declined by 13% or $73 billion. And the recovery, Madam Speaker, the recovery from that low, no, go back to the chart, please. The recovery from that low, Madam Speaker, has been accelerated as compared to the trend. So when you look at the revenue growth the year after COVID versus the COVID year, it went up by 22%. Yeah. But in that year, when you compare it to the year before COVID, it was just 6%. But he shows the 22%, doesn't show the decline, and makes a meal of it, thinking that nobody is going to find him out. Red card, Madam Speaker. Red card. We're not afraid to hide anything. Show the whole thing. Don't cover it up playing peekaboo. That is what it looks like, Madam Speaker. And what you'll see is that in the last year of their administration, tax revenues went up by 11%. And in 16-17, it went up by 11% for us too. And then 8% the year after, and 9% the year after, and 7% the year after. And then it declined by double digits. To compound that deception, Madam Speaker, move to the next chart if you can, please. What he does, he adds up those 4 years, and he says, his verbatim quote, over the 4 years, fiscal year 21 to 22 through to fiscal year 24-25, tax collections have increased by 419 billion. 419 billion of additional taxes has been collected from the Jamaican people over the last 4 years. Man, see, this is just barefaced, misleading, and just disingenuous. First of all, there aren't additional taxes. There are additional tax revenues. And the deception, Madam Speaker, is that he's counting from the depth of COVID when revenues declined by $73 billion in 1 year. So if you look at the column, the third column from the left, that has it's the dollar increase over prior year. And you look at the 4 rows in blue, 110 billion, 136, 103, 68. He adds those up and says 400 billion of tax increases in the last 4 years. Now, what does 110 relate to? The 110 is the increase from the COVID year when revenues sank from 579 billion to 505 billion, an increase of 110. So, Madam Speaker, what we experienced is a recovery, Madam Speaker, that was above the mean rate, but the average rate of growth over the 9-year period, Madam Speaker, is 9%. Now, thank God our revenues recovered. Thank God. Or else we could not have allocated $200 billion to public sector compensation. We could not be doing the Spark program. We could not be buying 100 JTC buses. We could not be doing 50 garbage trucks. We could not be giving income tax breaks. We could not be raising the pension exemption or the age exemption. We could not be implementing a reverse income tax credit, Madam Speaker. We could not do any of those things without revenue. Madam Speaker, gaslighting is an insidious form of manipulation. Yes. Victims of gaslighting are deliberately and systematically fed false or incomplete information that leads them to question what they know to be true. They may end up doubting their memory, their perception, or even their sanity. Madam Speaker, the commentary on a table that omits, that starts to talk about revenues for under this government and omits critical information of COVID and the years before, Madam Speaker, represents gaslighting by misleading the public into thinking there's something going on with over-the-top revenue, when in fact it is good news. It is entirely explainable, and he needs to omit relevant information to present a distorted picture. Madam Speaker, the opposition leader advances the false argument that revenue increases are a result of indirect taxation. Clearly, he is forgetting that it is this administration that reduced GCT by 1.5 percentage points. Revenue increases, Madam Speaker, are a result of increased economic activity. Them just winging it, Madam Speaker. Them not understand. Jamaica's fiscal data is publicly available. Madam Speaker, when you look at the growth in personal income tax, revenue, though we raised the threshold substantially to 1.5 million, income tax revenue has grown from $190 billion in 2015-16, grown by a total of $190 billion, or 145% cumulatively, or a compounded annual rate of 10.5%, Madam Speaker. You hear what I just said? Income tax revenue has grown over that period by $190 billion. Faster than the average growth rate of revenues. It has outpaced revenue growth. In addition, lower compounded annual rates of growth. And in the case of special consumption tax, it grew at a rate that is slower than the average growth. So they just have it in their brain, but they don't bother to do the analysis. Don't bother to look at the data. They just talk from the hip. And because he's a big man in society, Tapanaris, and believe, so we're going to just accept it. Red card for that attitude. Red card for that attitude. But you notice the date for the 16.7 is not there. Madam Speaker, he knows that the Jamaica Labour Party administration began in February 2016. And he knows that in 2015, under the PNP, the incidence of poverty was 21.2%. Madam Speaker, the incidence of poverty in Jamaica, even in the midst of the devastating COVID-19 pandemic.
You know, I've listened to the torrent of what he's had to say. But on this particular point, I was quoting from the most recent Jamaica survey of living conditions. I was quoting from that, which is a government publication. So, red card, red card.
He may be quoting from a survey of living conditions, but he knows that the rate is for 2021. It's in the public domain. So, Madam Speaker, and more than that, he knows that the rate of poverty for 2015 under their government was 21.2%. Now, if you start at 21.2%, and even after COVID, you're at 16.7%, how can you stand and tell the people of Jamaica that poverty has increased? Madam Speaker, red card, red card. Misleading the House. Misleading the House. Misleading the House. Madam Speaker, for the record,
In my opinion, guys, a very sad situation to see that Bunting did that and gave it to Mark Golding to present and to be humiliated. I don't think that's right to do. And I guess it makes sense why Bunting is so hell-bent on redelivering or finishing a speech that was not much of a budget. Maybe he was hoping to deliver some of it and, have it go over well with the people. But it didn't work out so well. Nonetheless, very sad situation. Like I said, leave your comments, guys, and make sure that you are keeping it locked here with Jamaica Politics Uncovered, where you get all your political news, reviews, and updates. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure that you have a notification on and that you are sharing our content. See you in the next video.